My sister kept telling everyone my husband was secretly in love with her. She had a meltdown when I proved her wrong. He looks at me differently when you're not around. My sister Vanessa said it at Mom's 58th birthday party on March 15, 2024, in the dining room of my parents' house in Downers Grove, Illinois, loud enough for 3 cousins to hear, Jessica and Amy, who were standing by the punch bowl pretending not to listen, and Michael, who was cutting himself another slice of the chocolate cake Mom had ordered from that expensive bakery on Main Street that charged $85 for something you could get at Jewel for $30. I was at the kitchen counter with a knife in my hand, cutting that same cake into neat squares because Mom had asked me to make sure everyone gets an equal piece, which was very on brand for how she treated Vanessa versus how she treated me. Vanessa got to show up late in a designer dress and be the center of attention, while I got to do the work and be criticized for how I did it. "What did you just say?" I asked, the knife hovering over the cake, frosting sticking to the blade in a way that would have bothered me under normal circumstances, but now just felt like a visual metaphor for how sticky and uncomfortable this moment had become. She smiled, sweet, fake, the smile she'd perfected by age 14 when she'd realized that looking innocent while saying cruel things was a superpower that worked on everyone, especially our parents. "Nothing, just an observation." Her voice had that sing-song quality she used when she wanted to sound casual but actually wanted to plant a bomb in the middle of a conversation and then walk away before it exploded. My husband Derek was across the room near the fireplace, talking to my Uncle Ron about the Bulls' playoff chances, gesturing with his hands the way he does when he's explaining something he's passionate about. He was wearing the blue shirt I'd bought him for Christmas, the one that made his eyes look darker. He hadn't even looked at Vanessa since we'd arrived 45 minutes ago. I'd been watching, because I always watched now, because Vanessa had trained me to watch, had spent the last 6 months turning me into a surveillance system in my own marriage, but she'd been doing this for months. Little comments, tiny seeds of doubt planted in conversations at family gatherings, dropped into group texts, whispered to relatives when I was in the bathroom, or getting drinks, or doing literally anything that meant I wasn't standing right there to contradict her. "Derek always laughs harder at my jokes than yours. He texted me last night just to chat about nothing. Isn't that sweet? Sometimes I think he married the wrong sister, don't you?" Each comment delivered with that same innocent smile, that same casual tone that made it sound like she was just making conversation instead of systematically trying to destroy my marriage for reasons I still didn't fully understand. I'm Claire Brennan, 32 years old, high school English teacher at Naperville Central, making $58,000 a year, which is enough to contribute to our mortgage and groceries, but not enough to afford the kind of clothes Vanessa wears or the kind of life she leads working in marketing for a company I've never quite understood, but that apparently pays well enough for her to live in a downtown Chicago apartment with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. The boring older sister who got married first at 27 to Derek Brennan, an accountant I'd met at a friend's wedding, who proposed after 2 years of dating that felt comfortable and right, and nothing like the drama Vanessa cultivated in every relationship she'd ever had. We'd been married 5 years, owned a 3-bedroom ranch in Lyle, were trying to have kids, lived a life that was normal and happy and completely unremarkable in every way that mattered, until Vanessa decided it was her turn to be the center of attention in a story that had nothing to do with her. At first, I'd ignored it. Vanessa always needed attention. It was her defining characteristic, the thing everyone knew about her and somehow forgave because she was the pretty sister, the fun one, the one everyone loved, according to family mythology that had been established when she was born 3 years after me and had immediately become the favorite child simply by existing. She'd been homecoming queen in high school while I'd been in drama club. She'd dated the football captain while I'd dated nobody until college. She'd gone to parties while I'd gone to the library. Our parents had photos of her on every wall and maybe 3 photos of me, usually tucked in corners or half hidden behind frames of Vanessa at her various triumphs. I'd accepted it as the natural order of things. Vanessa shined, I orbited, and that was just how our family worked. But the comments about Derek got worse, more frequent, more pointed, more public. At Thanksgiving 6 weeks ago, she'd told Mom, right in front of me while I was mashing potatoes in the kitchen, "Derek keeps staring at me. It's uncomfortable. I don't know what to do." Her voice had been concerned, worried, the tone of a woman being harassed rather than a woman creating fiction. Mom had pulled me aside later, her face serious, her voice careful. "Is everything okay with you two? With you and Derek? Is there something going on?" "Everything's fine," I'd said, my stomach dropping, because Mom's tone suggested she believed Vanessa, that she thought maybe there was something to be concerned about, that my marriage might be in trouble, and I was too stupid or too trusting to see it. "Vanessa's making things up." Mom's face had said she wasn't sure who to believe, which was its own special knife to the gut, the realization that my own mother might believe my sister's lies over my truth. At Christmas, Vanessa had worn a low-cut red dress that was completely completely inappropriate for a family gathering, had positioned herself next to Derek at the dinner table, even though Mom had made a seating chart that put her across the room, had laughed too loud at everything he said, had touched his arm repeatedly while telling stories about how close we've gotten lately. Derek had looked confused, uncomfortable, had tried to shift away from her without being obvious about it, but she'd pursued him around the room like a heat-seeking missile. Later, I'd overheard her telling my Aunt Carol, "The chemistry between us is undeniable. I think he feels it too, but he's too loyal to admit it." Aunt Carol had looked scandalized and thrilled in equal measure. Scandal was the currency of family gossip, and Vanessa had just deposited a fortune. My aunt told my other aunt Linda, who told my cousin Rebecca, who told my mom. Suddenly, everyone was watching us at family gatherings, watching Derek for signs of inappropriate interest, watching Vanessa for signs of reciprocation, watching me for signs that I knew my marriage was falling apart. The whispers followed us through Christmas dinner, through gift opening, through dessert. I felt like we were specimens under glass, our relationship being studied and judged and found wanting by people who'd known me my entire life, but were suddenly willing to believe I was the oblivious wife in a love triangle I hadn't known existed. At New Year's Eve, I'd had enough. We were at my parents' house again. We were always at my parents' house because that's where family gathered and where Vanessa could have an audience. And Vanessa had cornered me in the kitchen while I was refilling the chip bowl, while everyone else was in the living room counting down to midnight. "He's going to leave you eventually," she'd said, her voice matter-of-fact, like she was telling me the weather forecast. "Might as well accept it now and save yourself the embarrassment. Derek doesn't want you," I'd said, my hands gripping the chip bag hard enough to make it crinkle. She'd laughed, this bright, amused sound that suggested I was adorably naive. "Then why does he text me every night? Why does he call me when you're asleep? Why does he tell me things he doesn't tell you? He doesn't. Check his phone if you don't believe me." She'd walked away then, back to the party, back to the center of attention, leaving me standing in the kitchen with a bag of chips and a heart that was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. That night, after we got home, after Derek had fallen asleep on the couch with the TV still on because he'd had 3 beers and always fell asleep after 3 beers, I did something I'd never done before. I picked up his phone. His passcode was our anniversary, 8/15/19, because he was sentimental and bad at security. I opened his messages, my hands shaking, expecting to find proof that my sister was right, that my husband had been lying to me, that my marriage was a fiction I'd been too stupid to see through. No texts to Vanessa, not one. Not a single outgoing message in 6 months of chat history. Just her texts to him. Dozens, maybe 50. Unanswered, all of them. Just sitting there with those 2 check marks that meant he'd read them and chosen not to respond. "Thinking about you tonight. Miss talking to you. Call me when you can. She doesn't appreciate you like I would. You deserve someone who understands you. I dream about us sometimes. Do you?" I scrolled through them all, feeling sick and angry in equal measure. The messages went back 6 months, starting casual and escalating to desperate. Photos of her in outfits she wanted his opinion on. Links to articles she thought he'd find interesting. Questions about his day, his work, his thoughts on movies and music and everything else. A one-sided conversation with herself, creating a relationship that existed only in her imagination. I took screenshots, every single message. Then I opened his call log. Nothing from Vanessa except 17 missed calls in 1 week. All ignored, all sent to voicemail. I woke Derek up, showed him my phone with the screenshots. "Did you know she was doing this?" His face went red, then white. I thought if I ignored her, she'd stop. I didn't want to make it a thing, didn't want to cause family drama, so I just didn't respond. I blocked her number after she sent. He stopped, looked away. After she sent what? He pulled up his photos, scrolled to a folder labeled "Do Not Open," showed me a picture Vanessa had sent 3 weeks ago. Her in black lingerie, lying on her bed, the caption reading, "Wish you were here." I felt my stomach turn over. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. I blocked her immediately, but then she started calling from different numbers. Friends' phones, I think. Or maybe those app numbers you can generate. I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. He took my hands. "Claire, I swear to God, I have never encouraged this. I don't want her. I've never wanted her. This is insane. This is stalking." "I know," I said, and I did know. But knowing didn't stop the anger. Didn't stop the humiliation of having spent 6 months watching my family believe my sister's lies, while my husband had been quietly dealing with harassment he was too uncomfortable to talk about. "She's telling everyone you're in love with her. Mom believes it. So does Aunt Carol. So does half the family." Derek's jaw tightened in that way it does when he's angry but trying to stay calm. "What do you want to do?" I thought for a minute, looking at the screenshots on my phone, at the evidence of my sister's obsession, at 6 months of lies that I could finally prove were lies. Then I smiled. Not a happy smile, a cold one, a calculated one, the smile of someone who'd just realized they had a nuclear option and was deciding whether to use it. I want to prove her wrong, publicly. 2 weeks later, on January 14th, 2024, Mom threw a family dinner. She did this periodically when she felt the family wasn't connecting enough, which really meant she wanted everyone gathered in one place so she could update everyone on family gossip and receive appropriate praise for her hosting skills. Everyone came, Mom and Dad, Aunt Carol and Uncle Ron, Aunt Linda and her husband Tom, cousins Jessica and Amy and Michael, Derek's parents who'd been invited because Mom liked them and wanted them to feel included, and of course Vanessa, who showed up 20 minutes late in a red dress that looked like it cost more than my monthly car payment, her hair professionally styled, her makeup flawless, walking in like she was arriving at a premiere instead of a family dinner. She sat next to Derek, again, even though Mom had made a seating chart. Even though Derek tried to shift to a different chair, she just laughed and said, "I always sit next to my favorite brother-in-law," like it was a charming quirk instead of a boundary violation. I didn't stop her. I just smiled and brought out the appetizers. Bruschetta I'd made from scratch because Mom had asked me to contribute something nice, and watched Vanessa perform her routine. During appetizers, she laughed at something Derek said. He hadn't said anything funny. He'd just asked her to pass the bread basket, but she acted like he'd delivered a comedy routine. "You're so funny, Derek," she said, touching his shoulder, her hand lingering for 3 seconds. 4, 5. "You always make me laugh." Mom was watching. So was everyone else. I could see the looks being exchanged, the raised eyebrows, the whispered comments behind hands. After dinner, pot roast that Mom had made and that everyone praised excessively because that's what you did at Mom's dinners, I stood up, clinked my wine glass with a fork, the sound sharp and clear. "I have an announcement." Everyone turned. Conversations stopped. Forks paused mid-bite. Vanessa smiled, like she knew what was coming, like she thought I was about to admit defeat, to announce a separation, to confirm what she'd been telling everyone for 6 months, like she'd won. "Derek and I have been working on something special," I said, my voice steady, calm, the voice I use in my classroom when I'm about to explain something important and I need everyone to pay attention. "A project. For the past 2 months, Vanessa's smile faltered just slightly, a crack in the foundation. "See, Vanessa's been saying some interesting things about Derek, about their connection." I used air quotes, watched her face go from confident to uncertain. Things about how he texts her every night, how he looks at her differently, how they have this undeniable chemistry, how he married the wrong sister. The room went completely silent. Mom shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Aunt Carol stopped chewing her pot roast. So I decided to document everything. I pulled out my laptop. I'd had it ready in the kitchen, had set this up carefully, had planned every word. I opened it on the table, turned it so the screen faced the room. These are text messages, from Vanessa to Derek, from the past 6 months. The screen filled with screenshots. I'd organized them chronologically, had highlighted the most damning ones in yellow. "Thinking about you tonight. Can't stop. You deserve better than her. I dream about us. Do you dream about me? Just say the word and I'm yours." I scrolled slowly, letting everyone read. The room stayed silent except for the sound of breathing, of someone's chair creaking, of Aunt Carol's quiet gasp. These are all from Vanessa to Derek, dozens of them, sent over 6 months. I looked at Vanessa, whose face had drained of color, whose hands were gripping the edge of the table. Derek never responded, not once, not to a single message. I scrolled more, showed more messages, each one more desperate than the last. Here's where she texted him at 2:47 a.m. on December 3rd. "Can't sleep, thinking of you, wish you were here instead of with her." Here's where she sent him a photo on December 18th. I didn't show the photo. I had standards. And also Derek's parents were in the room, but I showed the message that came with it. "Do you like what you see? This could be yours." Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's face turned red. Derek blocked her number after that, so she started calling from different phones, borrowed phones, app-generated numbers, whatever she could use. I pulled up the call logs, the screenshot showing 17 calls in 1 week, all from different numbers, all ignored. 17 calls in 5 days, all ignored. Then she created a fake Instagram account to follow him and send him messages when the blocking wasn't working. I showed the Instagram account, username RV secretly, profile picture a blurry photo that was clearly Vanessa, but taken from an angle that made it deniable. I showed the messages she'd sent from that account, more desperate pleas for attention disguised as casual conversation. "Derek, I know you feel it too. The connection between us. We're meant to be together. You just need to be brave enough to admit it. Leave her. Choose me. I promise I'll make you happier than she ever could." Vanessa stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. She was shaking, her face white except for 2 spots of red on her cheeks. "You're twisting things. You're taking them out of context." "Am I?" I asked, my voice still calm, still steady, because losing control now would ruin everything. "Did you or did you not tell Aunt Carol that Derek texts you every night?" She didn't answer. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Did you or did you not tell Mom at Thanksgiving that Derek stares at you and it makes you uncomfortable?" Silence. Her hands were shaking now, her carefully applied makeup starting to run as tears formed in her eyes. Did you or did you not tell me, 2 weeks ago in Mom's kitchen, that Derek is going to leave me for you? Her mouth worked soundlessly, like a fish pulled from water. Did you or did you not send my husband a photo of yourself in lingerie with a message asking if he liked what he saw? Mom stood up abruptly. Vanessa. Her voice was sharp, cold, the voice she used when we were children and had done something unforgivable. Is this true? All of it? Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, real ones this time, not the performative crying she'd perfected for getting out of trouble. I thought he gave me signals. What signals? I asked. That he existed near you, that he was polite at family gatherings, that he didn't actively run away when you sat next to him. But the way he looked at me, the way he looked at you was confused and uncomfortable because you were harassing him, I said, and the words came out harder than I'd intended, but I didn't soften them. He was trying to be nice because you're my sister, and he didn't want to cause family drama. You interpreted his politeness as interest. That's not love, Vanessa. That's delusion. She started crying harder, louder, the dramatic sobbing that had always worked on our parents when we were kids, that had gotten her out of groundings and punishments and consequences. Her shoulders shook. Mascara ran down her face in black rivers. She covered her face with her hands and made sounds like her heart was breaking. Nobody moved to comfort her, not Mom, not Dad. Not Aunt Carol, who usually rushed to defend her. Everyone just sat there, staring, processing, realizing that everything they'd believed for 6 months had been a lie. Dad stood up, his face hard. Vanessa, I think you should leave. Dad! Her voice was pleading, desperate, the little girl voice she used when she wanted him to fix things for her. Now. She grabbed her purse, expensive leather, designer brand, probably $800, and ran out, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, the front door slamming behind her hard enough to rattle the windows. Through the window I watched her get into her car, a white Audi A4 that she'd bought last year and had posted about extensively on Instagram, and drive away too fast for a residential street. The room stayed silent for what felt like hours, but was probably 30 seconds. Then Aunt Carol spoke. Her voice small. I owe you an apology, both of you. I believed her. I'm so sorry. Mom nodded slowly, her face pale. So do I. Claire, Derek, I'm so sorry. I should have known better. I should have trusted you. Derek took my hand under the table, squeezed it hard. I squeezed back, feeling something in my chest unclench for the first time in 6 months. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Vanessa, sent at 3:47 a.m. from a number I didn't recognize, probably another one of her friends' phones. You humiliated me in front of everyone, in front of the whole family. You made me look insane. You destroyed me. Are you happy now? I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, You humiliated yourself. I just showed the receipts. You spent 6 months lying about my husband, harassing him, trying to destroy my marriage and making everyone believe I was too stupid to see it. I just proved you wrong. If you feel humiliated, that's because you should be. Sent. Blocked the number. 3 days later, Vanessa posted a long rant on Facebook. I saw it because my cousin Jessica sent me a screenshot before it got deleted. A wall of text about toxic family members, about jealous sisters who can't stand to see other people happy, about being misunderstood and persecuted for having feelings, about how her family had turned against her for being honest about her emotions. The comments were brutal. Girl, you literally stalked your sister's husband. This isn't being misunderstood. This is being called out. This is embarrassing. Get therapy. You sent him a photo in lingerie and you're the victim? Make it make sense. Your sister showed proof. You showed delusion. These are not the same thing. She deleted the post an hour later, then deleted her entire Facebook account, then her Instagram, then apparently her Twitter because Jessica told me that had disappeared too. Mom called me that night, her voice careful. Vanessa's not coming to Easter. She says she needs space from the family. Good, I said. She's very upset. She's been crying for days. She should be upset. She should be crying. She tried to destroy my marriage for 6 months. Mom sighed, the sound heavy with the weight of a mother who loved both her daughters, but had finally realized one of them was the problem. You were harsh at the dinner. Was I? Or was I just honest? I asked. I showed evidence, text messages, call logs, photos. Everything she did. I documented and shared. If that's harsh, what do you call what she did to me? Silence on the other end of the line, then Mom's voice, cracking slightly. I'm sorry, you're right. I'm so sorry I believed her. I'm so sorry I doubted you. You should be, I said, and I hung up before she could say anything else, before she could try to smooth things over or minimize what had happened or suggest that maybe I should be the bigger person and forgive. Derek hugged me from behind, wrapped his arms around my waist and rested his chin on my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I'm good. That dinner was brutal. Remind me never to piss you off. I smiled, turned in his arms to face him. You don't have anything to worry about. You didn't do anything wrong. She did. 2 months later, March now. Spring arriving in Illinois with its usual mixture of rain and false promises of warmth. Vanessa sent a long apology text. It came from yet another new number, was dated 11:23 p.m. on a Tuesday, was clearly written after significant thought or possibly significant wine or both. She said she was in therapy now, working on herself, understanding that she'd had some unhealthy patterns of behavior, recognizing that she'd hurt me and Derek and the whole family, that she was so sorry for everything, and hoped someday I could forgive her and we could rebuild our relationship because family is important and life is too short, and other platitudes that sounded good but didn't actually address the 6 months of targeted harassment and lies. I read it, twice. Then I deleted it, blocked the number, didn't respond. Derek found me in the kitchen later that night, saw my phone on the counter. Was that from her? Yeah. What did you say? Nothing. I deleted it. He kissed my temple. Good. Sometimes people think forgiveness is the same as healing, that you can't move forward without reconciliation, that family means you have to keep giving chances no matter how many times someone proves they don't deserve them. But I've learned something in the past 6 months. Forgiveness is optional, boundaries are essential, and some bridges are better burned than crossed. Vanessa spent 6 months trying to steal my husband, trying to convince my family I was too stupid to see what was happening, trying to make me doubt my own marriage and my own reality. I spent one dinner proving her wrong with evidence she couldn't deny. If she feels humiliated, that's not my problem. That's the natural consequence of her choices. I kept the screenshots, all of them, backed them up in 3 different places, not because I plan to use them again, but because sometimes you need proof that you weren't crazy, that it really happened, that you were right to protect yourself and your marriage, even when it meant going to war with your own family. Derek and I are fine. Better than fine. The crisis forced us to communicate better, to trust each other more deeply, to build walls around what matters instead of leaving ourselves vulnerable to people who'd rather tear us down than be happy for us. My family is different now. More careful. More aware that Vanessa's version of reality doesn't always match actual reality. Mom apologized 3 more times. Dad sends me texts checking in on me. Aunt Carol invited us over for dinner without Vanessa and said specifically, I want to make it up to you. And Vanessa? She's still in therapy, supposedly. Still working on herself. Still absent from family gatherings because she needs space, which really means she can't face what she did or the consequences of her actions. I don't miss her. I don't think about her much anymore. Sometimes I see old photos. Her and me as kids, at holidays, in better times before she decided my life was something she wanted to take, and I feel a ghost of something that might be sadness, but is mostly just relief that it's over. The last thing I heard, through the family grapevine that still flows even without her in it, is that she moved to Atlanta. Started over. New city, new job, new Instagram account under a different name. Maybe she learned something. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it's no longer my problem. My marriage survived. My boundaries held. My evidence proved true. And sometimes that's all the ending you need. The proof that you were right, the validation that you weren't crazy, and the peace that comes from closing a door that should never have been opened in the first place.